Well, now that we have that out of the way, thank you for sticking around if that didn't scare you off. This is the second part of my beneficiary video. So, as the sign implies, nobody gets out of this life alive. And so, what happens, right? If you have a qualified retirement account, IRA, or Roth IRA, there are rules. There's always rules, all kinds of new rules. We've been in this space now since the end of 2020, 2019, with the Secure Act 1.0 and now the Secure Act 2.0 and even revisions to the Secure Act 2.0. So what happens? It really depends on who inherits the assets. So again, in the case of qualified retirement plans, IRA, Roth IRA, it depends on when the original owner passed away and also who, or in some cases what, the beneficiary actually is. Prior to 2019, the rules were different. I'm not going to spend any time on those because if you're looking at this, if you're viewing this, you're still here. So those prior 2019 rules don't necessarily apply. And if they do, we've already taken care of it. So post 2020 now, if the IRA owner passes away before their what's called required beginning date. So, required beginning date has to do with those required minimum distributions that we have to address every year. Then, if it is a spouse, and pretty much the rules for spouses are pretty cut and dry still. They didn't really take anything away from a spouse. You still can make that IRA account your own, and then you are able to withdraw at any time, no penalties necessarily, and no real time frame associated with the withdrawals. But if you are not a spouse and that IRA owner passed away before their required beginning date, then you have a 10-year window, which starts the year after the IRA owner passed away, with which to withdraw all of the funds. So you don't have an amount that you have to take out each year, but by the end of that 10th year, all of those funds must be withdrawn. So if you are not a spouse, then the rules are slightly different. Not only do you still have that 10-year window, and the person passed away after they had already been withdrawing their required minimum distributions, then in addition to that 10-year window, you also have a annual withdrawal requirement. And there was a lot of back and forth on that particular piece. The 10-year window had been put in place again since 2020, but there was back and forth on whether or not there would also be an annual required amount. As of about July of this year, 2024, they finally made the determination, and surprise, surprise, the IRS does want that income tax, and so there is additionally an annual minimum amount that those beneficiaries must withdraw. And so it's getting quite complicated. I understand that. Bear with me. So what the IRS has done, however, is they have given everybody a pass up until this year. You do not have any penalties if you do not withdraw these minimum amounts. But now, starting in 2025, if you again inherited this an IRA account and the IRA owner had already been taking required minimum distributions, not only does that 10-year rule apply, but now a minimum amount must also be taken along the way. So there are some strategies and some planning opportunities, of course, and I'm here to help, obviously. at the end of the day, we do want to make sure that not only do the funds get distributed over the appropriate time frame with the appropriate tax liabilities paid out, but we want to certainly avoid any penalties. And so, as of today, here near the end of 2024, no penalties to worry about, but we hit the ground running in 2025 to make sure that we get those dollars out before any penalties have to be paid on those distributions. For Roth IRAs, it's fairly similar. It doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily because there is no tax on Roth IRA withdrawals. The IRS, again, still though, is mandating that 10-year rule and the same life expectancy rule. Again, if the IRA owner passed away after they had already attained an RMD age, which there is no RMD age on a Roth IRA. So again, getting quite clear as mud here. So they really want to make sure that Roth IRA assets don't just exist forever and get passed down generation to generation with no tax liability paid on them. So you have to kind of think about it from the standpoint of the IRS knows you have these dollars. They want the tax liability on them, and they don't want them hanging around forever either to just create these kind of generational tax-free accounts. So didn't want to make this video too long. Wanted to press upon you the importance of making sure that beneficiary designations are not only up to date, but that there's the understanding of what happens when you pass away. The rules have definitely changed. They're far less clear and a lot more complicated than they used to be. There's a whole nother section on trust accounts, as well, which I'm not going to spend much time on here today. But Advanced Capital puts together resources for people. So we're going to have a link to a guide that we have put together for inherited IRAs. It's 16 pages long. So again, lots of complication in here, but obviously, as always, I'm here to answer questions as well. So that's it for this Beneficiary 2 video. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, feel free to reach out to me with questions or share this video with anybody that you feel might find value in it. Thank you very much. Take care.